Chapter 1. He watched her through the eyelet when he heard the hall door open. Her long ghost, her skin dry of sweat from the room, the smell of salt around her hips. The city had named her to call her its own, ink from neck to feet, shadow in the hall while the rest of the city sleeps. The city is a stone in the river, a pipe in the river. The world is a city, splintered. Arya closes the door. Life begins with the hall, this building, this place, sunk and unsound. He did not mark the day. At once she passed him in the hall, the mark was set unmoved. They matched a glance. The beat between them was fixed against. Trigger, memory, run toward something else. She will not lift it from him, and he waits for it. 2 locks and a chain. She locks it from the top down in a beat of 3. Not like the last place where the pipes would not shudder. Her place now, the feel of sound, a quirk to an old building, said to her with a smile. Bruised lip, landlord torn back on the verge of tears, smiling at Arya. Arya was trapped by the smile, sickened by it. She knew the smile from her mother. The landlord was brave because she came to look this way. She had nowhere else to go, to be, and nothing but the building would wait for her. On nights when he would return, she lived with her husband, first floor behind the office, connected by tile, separated by a door. Sounds of the tenants, they came and went, made their lives part of hers. Their place reminded Arya of a cyst. The landlord knew what Arya thought about it. She knew the feeling, the building. She knew everything. Arya, when the city pulled her in from the old place, a child born into war. In a room of filth, it gave her the name below lines to shower the dead. Her old life without youth, the beauty to be her youth misused, eyes beyond green to murder, the two meant to raise her with love. The city gave her a life to shine only for itself, for the room that showered the dead, the eyes of them, made right by the city, the love it had for her. What the city saw when it found its flower, Arya, her heart, its blood heavy, her sadness. Arya, if she would see it all from above, she would know she was the star in the building, the center of it, their orbit, a sun for a suicide who sleeps, a mirror for a lip hiding a kiss, the old woman downstairs, cracked and bruised, back years ago, her only reserve, and her reflection begged for Arya. Arya, the steam removed her, enough to know she was not running against her years. The people in her past died that way. Out over the tub and onto the floor, the creek, wet towel, wiped a moon in the mirror, wrapped her hair with the other, beehive over beauty, peach. She was still a child to colors. In her bed, windows removed of light, covered, closed her eyes to clouds, static, breath, incense, the breath of her father flavored to break into sleep. Her father, his hands giants, fingers pressed into her hips, thumbs over kidneys, his manhood breaking her forever. The smell of gin on his lap, the switching of entry behind her. Her pain, hers to keep. Her mother had plenty of her own, so much she did not have it in her to care. Arya drifted back to her first tattoo, her first breath of relief, her first taste of control, a pain she would want and could measure to end. Since her father, no man, bad or good, had felt her body, broken off that part of her, no one to lay a hand, her naked flesh. The nights within her when she would let the good surface and cover her heart, the quickness of it before the hope did die to sorrow. Her life, what it could be. She found the right cloud, the color, clean. Arya closed her thoughts. He did not mark the day. The door to Arya was second down on the left. She moved there middle of summer. He moved in when the film on his body no longer burned off. The film had covered him since he could remember. First memory sets the tone of a man. A bed, not a crib. A bedroom not made for him. No fixtures near, but recall-connected branches of pears. The smell of fruit on the ground, sugar, a day before it would rot. Wind of his mind reached back behind a hall. The bed, his parents, their bed, their room. Kitchen sink, sounds of forks and plates, running water, his mother and her cigarettes, the smell of soap and smoke and ash. Empty room. He had troubles. Fever convulsions, gone 2 times at age 1. He would not sleep unwatched until he turned 4. By then he was carried into their room after his father left the house. Then he was awake and down a hall. The noise of his people, laughs of love, his feet leaving the carpet, his back touching the ceiling, breath of smoke, lips to his, passed around by his ribs, unlimited love. Recall reached back further. A bed, their room, a face in float above his. The child was awake but asleep, aware but unafraid. The face was not alive, but the face knew the child, spat air on his face. If the face could have spat spit, it would have. It would have left the boy with spit to smell, to know his life was damned. Years later, his first love lapping over coffee in a place where starving art hanged free, the air of youth, of romance. Paris used to be everywhere. Across the table, she had told him of her first memory, something normal, better than his cleaner, a song on a radio, her mother and aunt singing to her. When she asked him about the first thing he could remember, it dawned on him there. I was spit on by a ghost. He watched her through the eyelet when he heard the hall door open. Her long ghost. Door unlocked, wisped through, closed, a beat of 3 from the top down, her mind on one thing, a shower to kill the eyes of them. He pulled back from the view, smell of copper from the lens. He wiped his eye of it. Her skin was salt right then, salt and copper on his tongue, the exact smell of money, skin of Aria. The face from the bed would watch him still, a face not alive, a ghost of something he escaped by being born. Old building, creak to hiss, sputter then thrive. Her shower, the break in the beat, the water hitting her shoulders, but first her hair, then running down. Her eyes closed, his time spent at once. Breathed in, deep, blew away the face above his eyes opened, his stare fixed. Where his mind had gone, only she knew. Her long ghost. She was a bridge between the living and the dead. On his back, his bed, the same bed reincarnated, face above his fades. 1 hour before the city let day make changes. Her city, his. Their time, his thoughts, owned by him alone. The rest of the city, liquid balancing and resting brains. Sunrise, soap, coffee, kitchen table, unalone, soft light, yellow-orange, right on time, fulfilled, fitted. Down the hall the water stopped. His eyes half closed to watch outer space, his count backward from infinity. In the count, faces from the past. His mother, taken when he was a child able to run, her lungs. His father, the death of her had changed his days, the empire to rise from her loss. His work to keep time free from sorrow. The years of her gone, time would soften the change. Other faces, once too sharpen and fade from years, the few of them he chose to know. Gone now, his life in step with it. Alone, for him it had been full. He would lose the only 2 he loved, same sweep of time. Backward from then, looking down from a seat above. Hum of an engine, the grid work of life below, while dusk beat down the day. In bed, drifting back, remembering. The soft light will miss him. Chapter 2. She introduced herself as the landlord, not the building manager, not the landlady, sour. It only sat upon the tongue that way for a moment. Her womanhood shamed by him, she would reach out to a liberal with the embarrassment not destroy the rest of her. When her husband did come back, it was straight to bed by her wrist. Any refusal meant hurt. She took drunken, goat-like sex over hurt. Goiters and boils, acne across his back, borderline obese. It had occurred to her to leave a knife in him while he slept. She was no expert. She watched the shows, forensics. She loved her birds. Prison was the last option. She found her escape sitting at the counter, her nose in the thriller, the television on, white noise. Her view from the front desk showed her everything. She lost interest in everything 21 years ago. He was a man before then. Now he only lived to remind her he was never even close. Aria, sound asleep, safe from her own heart. He watched through the eyelet when he heard a break in distance, too early for Aria. Habits created disgust. He wiped his hair back, locked the door and walked to the hall door to lift, slid the cage closed, locked the door, old buttons, round, worn. If something broke and he still lived, he would lose the fear of falling, reckon with his morning dream. Floors of the building in slow recount, slits of light. His stomach rose while the lift made the drop to the lobby, soft, involuntary, gold paint. She smiled at him. He walked across the lobby. The word made her smile in disgust, small and broken, cracked. He walked across. She always thought he was handsome, a bit off but tall, anonymous age, hair, artist waves of salt and obsidian, jawline. A city can be intentional. Dostoevsky on the tips of his shoes, but he never liked him. He did not quite know why. He just knew the pages were a headache. But there was one book, the one that could read itself, short. The first line a masterpiece on its own. The first step out of the building into dusk. First natural light for him when he forgot he lived there. Buildings ripped down by light, they reflected the sky, and he knew he was never leaving. The city was a cage, but it had to know it was his release. Outside of the cage, the pulse only caused life to continue. Inside the cage, it knew how to pulse, strong, without care for time, for ending, without respect for lasting. All the ways to die in the city, within any one moment, his gateway of release. Anywhere else for him was nowhere, and no amount of release would mean mercy. There was Aria, every corner, every crack, every step around and upon. Through the arches, under bridges, lighted windows and neon. His love for her would not leave, the compulsion. He had failed her in the hall, but it was of no circumstance. All her beauty wrapped in such light, caustic, her feel, her glance, dead as it was. The city. Man was made with more intent, but the city usurped him. His child grew until it forced him out or forced him down. No need to be native when the city called you home, pulled you in, when the city smelled blood. When a man had no past because his mind had to lose the years between 15 and 40, burn them off at once. When nothing cleared the boards, the city would smell the blood, and it would hunt without moving, hearken to see, and pull the lost ones home. Chapter 3. Nothing could touch a person who needed no roof. On his back in the lot across from the bar, read the stars, old man. Count your losses if you could. The city took them away. From where you were spat out, the face in the sky might be the moon, but the roots were hidden. The old man was prepared for nothing, and he remained that way. What he wanted from the city was easy, a blank space from which to breathe. Food from the bottom, he paid no mind. The city fed his blood, a child of its reach. He had had it all before the first fall from the suburb, the first slip, the first business affair in the city. The horror was dark, big, hungry. She had done things to him he had not thought true. Months of her before the mark she had left on him was left on his wife. There was no explaining after, no fault to shift. After him, any other man would also have to have the mark or be in love with her for life. The kids would never be able to know the full story. It was too much for her. Filth. He was gone from there. Everything he had built leveled by a block in the city. The job went away, the security, their account up his arm, their possessions and past mitigation, litigated to nothing. Blonde and small blurred to gray and tall, but they still had nothing to do with him, their father, dope sick in the city, on the streets, beyond reach. But he had been reached, adopted by itching blood, by a moon who knew how to save itself. His need for junk, taken care of years back. His mind was free, his mind crazy by then. His life before the city, a dream, a blur, a wisp of maybes. He sat up and watched the sky, the face against it, the light around the lot, the silhouette against traffic, the stranger who never spoke to him, lean. The stranger slipped inside the bar, and the old man stared west to the buildings. Same tab, 2 shots, a pint, and a tall Jack Coke down the road. 2 women were talking at the end of the bar. They put eyes on him, whispers, cackles, slime. They were flotsam beneath the heels of Aria, booted because their flesh would not be good enough to touch her bare. He stared ahead and watched the wall above them, Them, all who could not be her. They were so old, so damaged. Young or not, they were not her. Tequila took to his blood, and he felt her eyes open. Chapter 4. Aria, awake in bed, arms above her head, stomach rising and falling with breath. Ginger on her tongue, abdomen wry, her mind steel, blackened. The pills only hurt, so she kicked without any help. 4 years back. 4 days of dread, brain snaps, tingles in her fingers and toes, palpitations, heart on edge. 4 more days of a hole in her chest, withdrawals, synthetic. 4 more days of recovery, and 4 more days to clear the way. Withdrawn, without synchronicity. Always kick on a Monday. Allow Sunday to be the gate. She kicked on a Monday, midnight to end Sunday. It had been that way with liquor, with cigarettes, with sugar. She put nothing in the way of feel. Her walls were plenty without help. Her father built the first one, but she had learned to control with the first line of ink. Lightning strike, once to remain alone forever. No other line would be so new, no other pain shocking. Graffiti for the walls, for her own understanding, for her understanding of alone, for her love with it, their affair. On her back, quilt over glass, moonrise. 4 years back, she kicked on a Monday, midnight. Sunday behind her to show the weak it would give itself over or lose her. Wild pig days, itching blood. Taper Sunday to midnight, clean sheets, showered and in bed, breathed up into the night. Remembered a story of stars up there, the belt of Orion, the burning of light. Eskimos whose souls would find heaven stepping up the stars of his belt. 3 on the rise up. Open arms of somebody never dead. The story of it, the sadness. Her sadness, a psalm of the city, a flower filled with blood, unmoving. A plant in her heart. It grew only when she shed what was not needed. She was a flower grown from the city, and it was proud, so proud even death would not usurp her. Her skin graced by the city, the design, the product it pushed. She was vindicated through crawling up a victim. Now the faces of the city were there to keep the flower strong, to keep it alive. With the city as her only love, the nightmares had stopped with her addictions. The city saw to that. When the sadness would punctuate its reach, the city only moved faster to heal. Her face in the mirror, sunfall, the lights along the awnings breathed possibilities into the sidewalk, breathed sleaze. 1 stroke of eyeshadow twice, 1 carton of juice drained, and the elevator spat her out. The landlord smiled. Lobby. Aria gave her a nod, a late night at the office sigh, and the landlord laughed, watched her walk away to someplace offering risks, meaning memories, what she would not give to be in the skin, the youth of her, the years facing forward from her. Behind the counter, what the old woman would never know. The eyes of men and lesbians would mean much to her, the smell of the stage, the degenerates. As long as they would want her, she would give herself to them. The years behind the counter, the city was her thief, but she knew nothing righteous. Her eyes clung to the coat of Aria, long, black, her hair blue and white. The city opened with neon, prostrated in weight. When her boots would touch the concrete, the city would begin. The landlord looked away. Aria disappeared through the door. Tall Jack Coke, he drank half. 2 drunks sat facing the bottles blocking the mirror. 1 drunk spoke to him, but the other cut him off, a pat in the forearm. The stranger spoke to no one but the bartender, and even now the words became 1 nod, 2 shots, a pint, and a tall Jack Coke down the road. The drunk shrugged it off, and they focused on the 2 women. The bartender looked over the shoulder of the stranger out the window, while Aria walked past for the place next door, where she would remain until 4 in the morning, where she would pull in more than any attorney in the city. The drunks and the women followed his stare. The drunks laughed at the bartender, his lust. They laughed along. They knew her silhouette as much as the others. Aria went into the building next door. The bartender shook his head and uttered 1 word. Beautiful. Beautiful. The stranger stared into his glass. The word rested upon his lips, a dead thing. Beautiful. Did not come close. The word could not approach her. Aria. Beautiful. It cheapened her, diluted. Beautiful. A useless, shiny adjective. Chapter 5. The name was not lost on him. She was a flower reborn by the city, his. He would wait for the time to tell her what she was, when she would listen to him, when he would make the connection fixed for the time ahead. A flower, his. A child risen from the city into his own. Like the plant from the blood of Robinson Jeffers, the line from the book had scratched him, long scar, unmoved beneath the sky her ghost set over him. The flower in his blood, Aria. Her fingers set in ink, born from the city, meant only to move through his hair, moving through obsidian, burn the film off his body. Nothing smelled as sweet as blood. Her blood, it sat in his, trapped by him. When she would move, he would feel it. Next door, she would work the stage, the faces. When the other girls would spray and wipe the pole after their time, it made her sick, so she never went near it. Aria, no inversions, no slow slides down, no ascents to communize her, no bills handed to her or placed upon her. Their money on the foot of the stage in front, the faces in the crowd, the look from them, the bodies beneath her. On stage in dream to get her through, she would watch them burn to bone and ash. The other girls, how they went nude and often beyond, rejects of the city reaching for its grace, outstretched, ignored. Aria, not once exposing her body as nude, not having to. Her mystery piped in from the city, the moon on high, the lights and the sick things filtered for her, for the view of the city to keep for its own. The city, the air as flesh, the rain as veins, the night sky as blood. Aria, her flesh as rain. Next door, the stranger finished his drink and walked out. Silhouette walking west, the old man watched, and it was no more. On his back there, dirt cooled, the night receding lighter, torn back by dawn when the city put him to sleep, when the light would bore the artists, the thinkers, the hunters. Light in the city, the expansion of lungs, only levered because it had to be, tolerated, daylight for the adopted, loved just enough. They had to be there for business, landscape and lifting, commerce and order, base work. When the sun would fail, the real blood woke and waited for the naked stars.